She was kneeling on cold marble, holding the lifeless hand of the mother-in-law who despised her for years. The entire family watched in silence. No one cried, no one moved. Then her husband walked in, looked at her with absolute disgust and said, "You killed my mother." She had donated kidney, liver, blood. She had slept at the hospital for months. She had sold everything she owned, and now she was the murderer. If you love stories like this, subscribe now. She stood up slowly. Something inside her had just died too, but that wasn't how it all began. 3 years earlier, Claire married into the Harrison family with nothing but a worn suitcase and a nursing degree. Daniel Harrison was charming, successful, and came from old money. His mother, Victoria, made it clear from day one that Claire would never be good enough. "My son could have married a senator's daughter," Victoria said during their first family dinner, not even looking at Claire. Instead, he brought home a girl who smells like hospital disinfectant. Daniel laughed. He actually laughed. Claire swallowed the humiliation and smiled. She told herself it would get better. She was wrong. Victoria developed a rare liver condition 6 months into the marriage. The doctors said she needed a transplant urgently. The family searched for donors. None matched. Claire got tested without telling anyone. She was a perfect match. When she told Daniel, he looked at her like she had finally done something right. "This could change everything," he said. "Not thank you. Not are you sure, just this could change everything." The surgery was brutal. Claire woke up with a scar across her abdomen and pain that made breathing difficult. Victoria recovered quickly. The family threw a celebration party at their estate. Claire watched from the kitchen, still unable to stand for long periods. No one thanked her. No one even looked at her. "She's milking it for attention," she heard Victoria tell a guest. "The surgery was months ago. My son deserves better than a wife who acts like a victim." Claire's hands trembled as she washed dishes. She had given this woman a piece of her body, and still, it wasn't enough. If stories like this move you, subscribe to hear what happens next. Months passed. Claire returned to work at the hospital, but her recovery was slower than expected. She developed complications, infections, chronic pain. She hid it all. She couldn't afford to seem weak. Daniel grew distant. He started coming home late. His phone was always face down. Claire knew the signs, but she was too tired to fight. She was working double shifts to pay for her medical bills, the ones insurance didn't cover. The bills from saving Victoria's life. One night, she came home early and found Daniel's car in the driveway, and another car, a red Mercedes she didn't recognize. She walked inside quietly. The house was dark, except for a light upstairs. In their bedroom, she didn't scream. She didn't cry. She stood in the hallway and listened to her husband laugh with another woman in the bed they shared. The same laugh he'd given when his mother insulted her. Easy, careless, cruel. Claire turned around and left. She slept in her car that night. She didn't confront him. Not yet. She needed to think. She needed to plan. But Victoria's condition worsened again. The transplant was rejecting. She needed another surgery, more care, constant monitoring. The family demanded Claire take a leave from work to care for her full-time. "You're a nurse," Daniel said flatly, "and you owe her your loyalty. She's your family now." Claire wanted to scream that she had already given her liver, that she was drowning in medical debt, that she had seen him with another woman. But she looked at Daniel's cold eyes and realized something terrifying. He knew she had nowhere else to go. No family, no savings, nothing. So she stayed. She cared for Victoria 16 hours a day. She changed bandages, administered medications, held her hand during painful procedures, and Victoria complained about everything. The food, the temperature, the way Claire breathed too loudly. "You're enjoying this," Victoria whispered one night, her eyes sharp despite the pain. "You're enjoying watching me suffer because you're a bitter, resentful little girl who trapped my son." Claire said nothing. She adjusted the IV and left the room. Her hands were shaking so hard she had to sit down in the hallway. She had given this woman her liver. She had sacrificed her health, her career, her dignity. And she was the villain. That night, Daniel came home with perfume on his collar. He didn't even try to hide it anymore. Victoria died 3 weeks later, not from the liver, from a sudden heart attack in the middle of the night. Claire had been sleeping in the chair next to her bed, like she had every night for months. She woke to the sound of alarms. She performed CPR until the paramedics arrived. She did everything right, but Victoria was gone. The family arrived at the hospital in expensive black clothes, their faces blank. Daniel walked past Claire without a word. His sister Margaret looked at her with something worse than grief. Suspicion. "Where were you when it happened?" Margaret asked, her voice ice cold. "I was right there," Claire said, her voice breaking. "I tried to save her. I did everything I could." "Did you?" Margaret's eyes narrowed. "Because the nurse said there was a delay in calling for help. Almost 4 minutes." Claire's blood went cold. "I was performing CPR. I called the moment 4 minutes," Margaret repeated. "That's a long time. Long enough for someone to hesitate." The accusation hung in the air like poison. Claire looked at Daniel, waiting for him to defend her. He wouldn't meet her eyes. She still didn't know what was coming. The funeral was held at the family estate. Hundreds of people attended. Politicians, business moguls, society elites. Claire stood in the back, wearing a black dress she'd borrowed from a colleague. She had sold most of her clothes months ago to pay bills. During the eulogy, Daniel spoke about his mother's strength, her generosity, her unconditional love. He didn't mention Claire once, not the liver, not the months of care, nothing. After the service, the family gathered in the study for the reading of the will. Claire wasn't invited. She waited in the hallway, her body aching from exhaustion. She hadn't slept more than 3 hours a night in weeks. The door opened. Daniel walked out, his face unreadable. "You need to leave," he said quietly. Claire blinked. "What?" "Leave the house now. Margaret is calling the police." "The police? Daniel, what are you—" "My mother changed her will 2 weeks before she died," he said, his voice flat. "She left everything to Margaret and me. Nothing to you. And she wrote a letter expressing concerns about the quality of care you provided. She said you were negligent, possibly intentionally." Claire's legs nearly gave out. "That's insane. I gave her my liver. I gave up everything to—" "She also said you resented her," Daniel continued, as if reading from a script, "that you made comments about wishing she would die so you could have access to the family money. The lawyers think we have grounds for a wrongful death investigation." "Daniel." Claire's voice was barely a whisper. "You know that's not true. You know what I sacrificed. You know—" "I know my mother is dead," he said coldly, "and I know you were the only one with her when it happened. I know you have debts you can't pay. I know you had motive." Claire stared at the man she had married, the man she had given up everything for, and she saw nothing. No love, no guilt, no humanity. "You're setting me up," she whispered. Daniel didn't deny it. He just handed her a piece of paper. "This is a restraining order. You're not allowed within 500 feet of anyone in this family. If you fight this, we'll press charges. If you go quietly, we'll let it go. Your choice." She still didn't understand the full picture, but that decision would cost her more than she could ever imagine. Claire took the paper with trembling hands. She walked out of the house she had cleaned, the family she had served, the life she had destroyed herself trying to build. She had nothing. No money, no home, no proof of what she'd sacrificed. She slept in her car again that night, and the next, and the next. But something was changing inside her, something cold and sharp and patient. She wasn't crying anymore, she was thinking. She remembered every humiliation, every cruelty, every lie. She had been weak because she believed love would save her. She had been wrong. Now she would be something else. Claire didn't fight the restraining order. She didn't defend herself, she disappeared. She moved 2 states away and took a job at a small clinic under her maiden name. She worked every shift available. She saved every penny. She slept 4 hours a night and spent the rest researching. Medical records, financial documents, Victoria's will, the timeline of her death. She found the inconsistencies immediately. Victoria's will had been changed the day after Claire discovered Daniel's affair. The lawyer who processed it was Margaret's college boyfriend. The concerns about Claire's care were written in Daniel's handwriting, not Victoria's. They had planned this, all of it. Claire didn't react. She documented everything. She made copies. She built a case so airtight that no lawyer could ignore it. And then she waited. 6 months later, she received an email. Daniel was engaged to the woman from the red Mercedes. The wedding would be held at the family estate, a society event. Everyone who mattered would attend. Claire smiled for the first time in months. She bought a plane ticket. She didn't go to the wedding. She went to the district attorney's office. She presented the evidence calmly, methodically. Forged documents, fraud, conspiracy to commit defamation, and the medical record showing that Victoria's heart attack was inevitable, unrelated to any care provided. The DA listened. Then he made a call. 2 days before the wedding, federal agents arrived at the Harrison estate. They arrested Margaret for fraud. They seized financial records. They froze accounts. Claire watched the news from her tiny apartment. She didn't feel joy. She felt nothing. Daniel called her once. She let it go to voicemail. His voice was desperate, breaking. "Please, we can fix this. I'll tell them the truth. I'll say it was Margaret's idea. Please, Claire. I'm sorry. I love you. I've always loved you." She deleted it. The trial took 8 months. Margaret was convicted. The family fortune was divided among creditors and lawsuits. Daniel lost everything: the estate, the business, the name. Claire didn't attend the sentencing. She was working a night shift at the clinic. A patient thanked her for saving his life. She nodded and moved to the next room. Sometimes she still felt the scar on her abdomen, the reminder of what she had given to people who saw her as nothing. But now when she looked in the mirror, she saw someone different, someone who had survived, someone who had won not by screaming, but by waiting. The Harrisons wanted her to disappear, so she did. And then she became the only thing they feared: the truth.